Hello and welcome to another video by Rick Miracle. Hey, in my series Freemasonry and Satanism. I just completed part 1 and part 2 of series 174, Encyclopaedia of the Arts, 1803, concerning the topic of Illuminati in that encyclopedia. If you want to try to find it, took me a while. But there's the cover. (1803). So when I find the PDF books, because I can't get the real book, it's a couple hundred years old, probably quite expensive, and I really don't like to buy the reprints. I just don't trust the system. So I'm going to read part 3, just a couple pages here, because I believe every single word in this 1803 encyclopedia concerning the Illuminati needs to be heard by everybody. One paragraph, the last paragraph I left off, I'll reread. Hence we hear of them lavishing the most rapturous encomiums of the Goths and the Vandals, who overran the Roman Empire, burnt the towns and the villages of civilized Europe. It was thus, according to the Illuminati, that those barbarians regenerated mankind. So they believe when you destroy everything, you regenerate everything into something new. And this is the age of Aquarius. And apparently they want something new. I'm reminded of Eurovision, like the American Idol singing contest, where Conchita Wurst won the singing contest. Conchita means a female part. Wurst is a sausage, a male part. The face was like Jesus, and the body was a woman in a silky dress. A lot of the mystery religion occultic material just in that description. But it gets worse. Conchita Wurst was singing the song The Phoenix Rising. And the phoenix is about a bird that lives to be very, very old. And then when it gets renewed or reborn, it rises up and bursts into flames so that it can be born. And Conchita Wurst was singing that song with the words in it, "You can't stop us." You can verify all this. Please don't believe me. Go look it up. Eurovision 2014, and the winner was Conchita Wurst. So anyways, they're talking about the Goths and the Vandals overrunning Rome, destroying civilized Europe. It was thus, according to the Illuminati, that these barbarians regenerated mankind. But the regeneration was not complete, for the Goths and the Vandals could not preserve themselves from the contagion of civil life. A contagion of civil life? I didn't realize being civil, or civilization being modernized, was a contagion. So anyways, back to where I left off. The last secret communicated to the most favored adepts was the novelty of the order. So they train all these initiates, these adepts. And as we can see, for a couple hundred years, they pretty much control everything. So it seems. Hereto, their zeal had been inflamed, and their respect demanded, an institution pretended to be of the highest antiquity. The honor of instituting the mysteries had been sufficiently attributed to the children of the patriots, the ancient fathers in the Bible, to ancient philosophers, and even to Christ himself, and to the founders of the Masonic lodges. So a lot of people don't want to believe the Freemasonic lodges are involved, or all the other secret societies are nefarious, and that the New Age is a nefarious, sinister, intended deception upon the citizens of the world. So it seems, from my research. So they pretend to have the highest antiquity, the best honorable intentions. But it's not what they say or put in print. It's what we all can see that they do. If they are in charge for the last couple hundred years, which it seems they are, even taking over the USA money supply in 1913, December 21st, the winter solstice, an occult witchcraft holiday, by the way. All has to do with the astronomy and astrology, the cosmos, ancient mythology. All right, to the ancient philosophers, even to Christ himself, and to the founders of the Masonic lodges, the honor of instituting the mysteries. But now the time is come when the adept, initiated into the higher mysteries, is supposed, remember the S's look like F's, so when you're reading just fluidly right along, your brain sometimes doesn't interpret it quickly enough. But now is the time is come when the adept initiated into the higher mysteries, these ancient mystery religions, is supposed to be sufficiently enthusiastic in his admiration of the order to be entrusted with the history of its origin. Here then they inform him from mystery to mystery, which has with such persevering industry rooted from his heart every principle of religion. They want to root from his heart all love of his country, root from his heart all affection for his family, all pretensions to property, to the exclusive right to riches, and to the fruits of the earth. This society, which has taken so much pains to demonstrate the tyranny and despotism of all of the laws, human and divine, and of every government, whether monarchical, aristocratical, or republican, which has declared him free and taught him that he has no sovereign on earth or in heaven, no right to respect in others, but those of perfect equality, of savage liberty, and of the most absolute independence, and that this society is not the offspring of an ignorant and superficial antiquity, but of modern philosophy. In one word, when the true father of illumination is no other than Adam Weishaupt, known in the society by the name of Spartacus. So they don't want people to believe in anything and only believe in the secret society. No property rights, no family support, no love of family, love of country, all the things I just said. This important secret, however, remained a mystery, even to the greater part of the Magi and the man-kings, the highest level of the Illuminati, being revealed only to the Grand Council of the Areopagites and to a few other adepts of distinguished merit. So only the high-ups get to know the truth. So zealously was the order bent upon propagating its execrable principles through the whole world. So they're going to turn the whole world this way. Remember how I started out here, that when the Goths and Vandals overran the Roman Empire, annihilating the arts and put a stop to agriculture, burned the towns and villages of civilized Europe. It was thus, according to the Illuminati, that these barbarians regenerated mankind. That's their intention. They have to destroy everything. The phoenix has to burst into flames to rise again, just like the song says in the Eurovision 2014 singing contest. They're showing us what the whole plan is. People don't want to believe it. A lot of this stuff's written in the Bible. People don't want to believe it. They want to believe Zechariah Stitchin, Nibiru, and the Anunnaki are returning, or the Palladians, or the gray aliens. But no, not the thing about Satan, or Lucifer, or Ra, or Osiris, or Isis, or Horus, the all-seeing eye on the back of the $1 bill. The obelisk, those pointy things in the city squares and in front of the Vatican, representing the phallic unit of Osiris, the mythological story of his brother killing him and cutting him up into 17 parts, and his wife Isis recovering 16, except for the one part, the phallic unit. I did try to rationalize this reading material in these satanic, demonic, sinister societies, and the only thing I can come to is that the spiritual realm here on earth, there are invisible beings. Maybe they can manifest themselves, just like all those videos on YouTube and David, Icke, and so much more, into some kind of alien beings, and maybe they feed off of mankind, and maybe they just obtain more energy, substance, food, feeding off mankind, when we humans are in a more barbaric state rather than a civilized state. So they need to create a barbaric state. So it's some kind of seething energy that I read in one of these books recently, the seething energies of Lucifer. After all this reading and studying, that's what it seems like to me. They need to keep humans alive because apparently they can live through us by possessing us or something, some kind of energies, creating hate energies, a certain frequency. So they want to propagate these principles through the whole world. That some of the chiefs have planned in order, okay, now get this. Some of these leaders of the Illuminati have planned an order of female adepts in submission to the designs of the men. It will be of great service, says Cato Zwack. It will procure for us information and money, and will fruit charmingly the state of some of our true members who are lovers of sex. So they want a female secret society, and some of the our truest members are lovers of sex. Can't even get this word. It's got A-F-F-E-F-F-O-R. I want to try to replace those F's with S's. A sailor, a falsor, an affiliator of the Imperial Chamber of Whistler by the name of Ditchfort, but known among the Illuminati as the Minos, expressed even his despair of ever bringing men to the grand object of the order without the support of female adepts. And he makes an offer of his own wife and his 4 daughter-in-laws to be the first initiated. So they need some women in one of the subservient orders, and this one leader wants to donate his wife and 4 stepdaughters. And it says here on page 213 on the bottom left, will suit charmingly to the state of some of our truest members who are lovers of sex. This order was to be subdivided into 2 classes, each forming a separate society and having different secrets. The first was to be composed of virtuous women, the second of the wild and giddy and voluptuous women. So they wanted a secret society order of virtuous, good women, and another one of wild, giddy, and voluptuous, I suppose, the charmingly sexually entertaining women. The brethren were to conduct the first by promoting the reading of good books and to train the second in the arts of secrecy, gratifying their passions. So they want to teach these people, women of the new secret society, secretly gratifying their passions. The wife of an adept named Ptolemy Magnus was to preside over one of the classes, which, says Minos, will become under her management and his a very pretty society. You must contrive petty degrees, so it wasn't pretty, it says pretty degrees and dresses and ornaments and elegance and decent rituals. So they have to have a pretty lodge with pretty degrees and pretty dresses and ornaments and elegant and decent rituals. No man must be admitted. This will make them more keen, and they will go much farther than if we were to present, or than if they thought that we knew of their proceedings. Leave them to the scope of their own fancies, and they will soon invent mysteries which will put us to the blush, and mysteries which we can never equal. Oh my, recruiting a female society to do all those things. Leave them to the scope of their own fancies, and they will soon invent mysteries which will put us to the blush, and mysteries which we can never equal. They will be our great apostolers. Reflect on the respect, nay, the awe and terror inspired by the female mysteries of antiquity. The awe and terror inspired by the female mystics of antiquity. Female mystics, would that be like witches? Mystics are magicians. Magicians are sorcerers. Sorcerers are witches. They're into the occult. Ptolemy's wife direct them, and she will be instructed by Ptolemy, and my stepdaughters will consult with me. We must always be at hand to prevent the introduction of any improper questions. We must prepare them for their discussion. Thus we shall confess them and inspire them with these sentiments, with our sentiments. No man, however, must be near them. They will fire their revolting fanciers, and we may expect rare mysteries. Wow, so they want to get some of these women of their families into these secret societies with some very interesting plans here. we may expect rare mysteries. But notwithstanding all the plans and zeal of this profligate wretch and others of the fraternity, it does not appear that the General Spartacus ever consented to the establishment of the sisterhood. He supplied, however, the want of such an institution by secret instructions to the regents on the means of making influence of women over men subservient to the order, without entrusting them with any of the secrets. The fair sex, says he, having the greatest part of the world at their disposal, no study is more worthy the adept than the art of flattery. In order to gain them, they are all more or less led by vanity, curiosity, pleasure, or the love of novelty. It is on this side, therefore, they are to be attacked, and by that to be rendered subservient to the order. I wonder if women know about this. That Wushtof's sanctity had not on this occasion forsaken him is very evident, since it has been proved that the German fair, who were the correspondents of the Illuminati, welcomed the French invaders into their native country. These female secret society recruits, initiates. Nay, so lately as last winter, our correspondent in Saxony heard several of these Illuminati ladies express a wish that the French might invade and conquer England, for they said that the tea and coffee would be cheaper. Can you believe they said that in this document? It is not enough for the founder of the sect of conspirators to have fixed the precise object of his plots. His accomplices must form but one body, animated by the Spirit. Its members must be moved by some laws under the inspection and government of some chiefs. A full account of the government of Wushtof's order will be found in the valuable work of Abbe Burrow. Our limit permits us to give only such a general view of it as may be put to our readers on their guard against the secret mechanisms of their extrudable villains, whose lodges are now recruiting under different denominations in every country in Europe. Remember, this document, Encyclopedia, was published in 1903. Wherever illumination has gained a footing as the means, turn the page to page 214. I don't have a lot here, I just have 2 more pages. But I wanted to get every single word what's in this encyclopedia about the Illuminati on video. So, okay, I said here, wherever Illuminati has gained a footing as a means of subordination, there is a general division of command as well as locality. The candidates and novices are each under the direction of his own recruiter, who introduces him to the Minerva lodges, and each Minerva lodge has a superior from among the preparatory classes under the inspection of the intermediary class. A lot of this stuff sounds familiar to the Jesuits and the Freemasons and other secret societies, the Illuminati. So many lodges constitute a district under the direction of a superior, whom the order calls the dean. The dean is subjected to the provincial, another higher person, who has the inspection and command of all the lodges and deaneries of the province. Next in order comes the national superior, who has full power over all within the national provinces, deans, lodges, etc. Then comes the Supreme Council of the order, or the Areopagites. Can't probably say that word correctly, but I guess it's a head chief here. Over the presides of the General of Illumination. Thus has the order formed within itself a supreme tribunal, to whose inquisition all nations are to be subjected. A supreme tribunal to whom inquisition of all nations are to be subjected. So people don't believe in this new age, new world order, globalism, nefarious plan to dominate and control mankind. You got to wonder what their religion is. They have one. It's part of the mysteries. The Areopagites, consisting of 12 fathers, so this Supreme Council, consisting of 12 fathers of the order, with the general at their head, form the center of communications with all of the nation's national superiors on earth. Each national is the center of one particular nation. The provincial in one province, the dean of the lodges within the deanery, the Minerva masters of his academy, the venerable of the Masonic lodge, and the recruiter and his novices, initiates, and candidates. The higher degrees, says Wusthof, in one of his instructions to the regents, must always be hidden from the lower. The simple Illuminati therefore corresponds with his immediate superior, knowing perhaps no other member of the order, the latter with his dean, and thus gradually ascending to the national superiors, who alone are acquainted with the residents of the Areopagites, and as they again are with the name and residence of the general. Any member, however, of the inferior degrees may occasionally correspond with his unknown superior by addressing his letters cubis licet. So I guess if you put a secret code on your letters, your immediate supervisor can't read it. It has to go to the unknown superior. And in these letters, he may mention whatever he thinks conducive to the advancement of the order. If he be a novice, and he may in these letters inform his superiors how his instructor behaves to him. So I guess lower levels can complain to secret leaders this way, and may draw the character of any person whatever. When the letter of any adept contains secrets or complaints, which he chooses to conceal from his immediate superior, he directs it solely, S-O-L-I, or primo, so this is something they write on the letter, and then it can be opened only by the provincial or national superior, or Areopagites, this group of 12, or the general according to the rank of the writer, which is by some contrivance unknown to Miss Burrell, indicated on the outside of the letter. The provincial opens the letter of the minor or major Illuminates, which are directed solely, or cubis licis, special codes on the letter, or of the epochs, another level of being initiated, and the primos of the novices, but he cannot open either the primo of the Minerva, or the soli of the Scotch Knights, or the cubis lents of the regent. He can only form a conjecture as to the persons who open his own letters, and those he is not permitted to open himself. When it considered that by one of Wusthoff's statutes, the provincial has in each chapter or district a confidential epoch who is his secret censor or spy, so they have spies in these organizations, and that these spies are to insinuate themselves into all the companies and collect anecdotes of the secret history, that the historian of the province is to insert these anecdotes into a journal kept for the purpose, that the provincials are obliged to forward the contents of these journals to the highest superiors of the order. Some notion may be formed of the influence of the general and our opagates in every country into which illumination has found its way. Opinagates, I guess some kind of spies. This means of acquiring an ascendancy over men, says Wusthoff, are incalculable. So they want to spy and get information on all the adepts and lower members. And Wusthoff says this means of acquiring ascendancy over men, says Wusthoff, is incalculable. This way they can blackmail people or keep people from telling the secrets. They have something over them. They know all the dirt, all the depravities, all the things these people are into. Who could enumerate them all? They must vary with the disposition of the times. At one period, it is a state for the marvelous that is to be wrought upon. At another, the lure of secret society is to be held out. For this reason, it is very proper to make your inferiors believe, without telling them the real state of the case, that all other secret societies, particularly that of Freemasonry, are secretly directed by us. So they convince all the lower level initiates that all of the other secret societies, particularly that of the Freemasonry, are secretly directed by us. That's what it says here on page 214 on the right side. Or else, and it is really the fact of some states, that potent monarchs are governed by our order. So apparently they also control some monarchs, which are dictators, leaders of countries. When anything remarkable or important comes to the pass, hint that in the original with our order, should any person by his merit acquire a great reputation, let it be generally understood that he is one of us. So anybody who gets a great reputation, they are to brag he is a member of the Illuminati, I guess whether he is or not. If our order cannot establish itself in any particular place, with all of the forms and regular progress of our degrees, some other form must be assumed. So if they can't get into a government office or a country or a city, some other form must be assumed. Always have the object in view that it is the essential point. No matter what the cloak be, provided you succeed, a cloak, however, is always necessary, for the secrecy of strength lies. The inferior lodges of Freemasonry are the most convenient cloaks for our grand object. You wouldn't believe this if I weren't reading it from this encyclopedia published in 1803. Because the world is already familiarized with the idea that nothing of importance or worthy of their attention can spring from Masonry. No artifice, however, is to be left untried. You may attend large and commercial towns during the times of fairs in different characters as a merchant, an officer, or an abbé. So they disguise themselves as these things and attend every town, every fair, every event. They need to be everywhere. And the next word says, everywhere you will personate an extraordinary man. So you will pretend to be an extraordinary man, having important benefits in your hands, and all this must be done with great deal of art and caution, lest you should have the appearance of an adventurer. You may write your orders with a cynical preparation of ink, which disappears after a certain time. So you can write orders to the people in disappearing ink. Never lose sight. Again, there was an F where there should be an S. Of the military schools, of the academies, printing presses, libraries, cathedral chapters, or any public establishments that can influence education or government. Let our regions perpetually attend to the various means and form plans for the making us masters of all these establishments. When an author sets forth principles true in themselves, but which do not as yet suit our general plan of education for the world, or principles, the publication of which is premature, every effort must be made to gain over the author. But should all of our attempts fail, and should prove unable to entice him into the author, let him be discredited by every possible means. So if they got somebody out there that's a good author or a famous person and they can't recruit him, let him be discredited by every possible means. Of these methods of discrediting authors, one has come to our knowledge, which must be interpreted to some of our readers. Interesting to some of our readers. Dr. Robinson's work, entitled Proofs of a Conspiracy. I just went over that book, series number 176. I'll be looking at that book again. So it's mentioned here in this encyclopedia. So this is one of those authors that were threatening their plans. So I suggest if anybody's interested and wants to find out what's going on, go online and see if you can find Proofs of the Conspiracy. Maybe it's available in PDF online free, or get the used book like I did. Entitled Proofs of a Conspiracy, which first unmasked these hypocrites in this country and found its way into Germany and was translated into the German language and exposed to sale at the Laspix Fair. So this book was transmitted and being sold at fairs. The Illuminati, under the disguise of merchants and abbés, attended and bought up the whole amount of books for sale. They call it here the whole impressions, which they committed to flames. So they bought up all the books that were being translated and sold at fairs and committed them to flames. So I suppose all of us need to get the Proof of a Conspiracy. At least read it, find it, PDF, free online, I think. I found this encyclopedia free online after one of my commenters referred to it and said, have you read this particular paragraph of this encyclopedia about the Illuminati? It took me a while to find it in PDF and get it downloaded because the page he sent me wasn't legible enough for me to read it. A second edition was published, and it shared the same fate. So a second edition of the Proofs of a Conspiracy came out, and the Illuminati sent all of their initiates, their troops, to buy them all up and submit them to flames. This was a more compedious way of answering the learned author. Next page. That which has been adopted by the Jacobin journalist in London, but perhaps it may convince the readers that these journals, that the doctor has not so far mistaken the sense of the writings of Philo or Spartacus as their Illuminati masters would them to believe. If this encyclopedia is correct, and the other books and documents I've been going over are correct, then we the people all over the planet should be concerned. And I'm aware, no matter what I do, people will just be in disbelief. They can look up and see the chemtrails being dumped in the sky, chemicals, and they'll still be in denial. They believe in the propaganda about Jesus was a myth or that religion is bad. But then they see all this stuff that's obviously sinister, and for some reason they embrace it. Just makes you wonder. It's very concerning. Moving on this book, the Encyclopedia, page 215. When these arts and disseminating of the organization and impetuous principles of the order are duly considered, so when all this is duly considered, and when it is remembered that the emissaries dare not disobey a single injunction of the high superiors without exposing themselves to poison or to the dagger of 1,000 unseen assassins, no man can be surprised. Gotta turn these F's to S's. No man can be surprised to learn that the Illuminati contributed greatly to the French Revolution. So the opposition, people they want to get rid of, that's a threat to them, can be subject to poison or the dagger. And that the Illuminati greatly contributed to the French Revolution, the reign of fire, the purge when they do revolutions. And you can call it a revolution or you can call it a world war. A world war is where everybody does what they're told, believing the propaganda, killing each other. A revolution is people doing what they're told and killing each other. The philosophers of France had indeed prepared the public mind for embracing readily the doctrines of the Illuminati. So they get the leaders of countries, like they do in the USA, even the churches are working against the people. And so early in 1782, Philo and Spartacus had formed the plan of Illuminizing that nation. So the Illuminati controlled the Freemasons, and altogether they caused all the French people to be incited to hatred and dragging wealthy people and certain people from their homes and killing them or burning them at the stake. And who's behind the scenes with the Kabbalah and the mysteries that's even in the Encyclopaedia Judaica? The Jewish people have a propensity to be leaders or involved in revolutions. And of course, the Illuminati derives from the Rothschilds, who was Gustav Superior, who was Zionist Jewish, who was one of the largest financiers to obtain the Palestinians' land to create the State of Israel with a long plan for world domination. which has been exposed in the books I've gone over many, many times. Back to the book. But they were afraid of the veracity and caprice of the people, and extended not their attempts at that time beyond Strasbourg. Already, however, there existed some adepts at the very heart of the kingdom, and the Marquis de Mirabeau, when ambassador of the court of Berlin, was initiated by Brunswick by a disciple of Philo Knights. On his return to France, he began to introduce the new mysteries among his Masonic brethren. So they were slowly infiltrating the Masonic lodges in France. And if you know anything about the French Revolution in the latter part of 1790, 1792, just before 1800, in World Revolution by Nestor Webster and other books I've gone over, Subversive Societies and World Revolutions, gone over a lot of books on this. So I'm starting to get a good feel for it. Who is behind this? Why was the State of Israel created in Palestine? Why was 911 executed so he could overthrow all the countries in the area around Israel? It all has a purpose. It's all connected. The Great Mysteries, the Freemasons, Rosicrucians, Church of Satan. I'm convinced it's all connected. Knights of Malta, Council of Foreign Relations. And I've been reading this book. It's all connected. The Trilateral Organizations. They got a new name now. The Trilateral Commission and Elite Planning for World Management. What do you think that means? World Management. And this was published in 1980. $37 years ago? Do people really believe this program is not happening right now? It explains all the insanity in the news. The state of Freemasonry was at that time particularly adapted to the views of the conspirators. The French had engulfed on the old and innocent British Masonry a number of degrees gradually rising above each other to the very mysteries of illumination itself. And I did go in this encyclopedia because it is I through P, which means it had M, and I looked up Masonry, and I printed out those 7 or 8 pages. So I suppose I'll have to read it and make a video on those pages for further evidence from an encyclopedia published in 1803. These were to be called the philosophical degrees, comprehended the Knights of the Sun. Here we go, the Knights of the Sun. The higher Rosicrucians, it's written right here. And the Knights Kadesh. At the head of all these societies, whether ancient or modern, were 3 lodges at Paris, remarkable for the authority which they exercised over the rest of the order. And Philip de Orleans was the Grand Master. So one of the leaders in France was a Grand Master. So early as the year 1787, France contained 282 towns in which were to be found regular lodges under the direction of that excruciable wretch. Philip de Orleans controlled 282 towns with Masonic lodges. And I've been saying that's what they're doing in the USA right now, and I suspect the world. When they want these White Lives Matter or other demonstrations to take place, they call up that local Freemasonic lodge and have those people get their sons or daughters or wives and everybody else and do these demonstrations. Can you imagine the power everywhere that seems invisible that we don't know about? And probably all those people don't even know how it's been orchestrated. But look what it says here. He increased their number by introducing the Masonic mysteries to the Masonic mysteries, the lowest of the rabble. So they're introducing these secrets, this witchcraft, to the lowest of the rabble. How many people out there you don't think would be sucked into this? You want to learn the secrets of the universe? You want to learn how to get wealthy and power and control and sex? Come on. As well as those French guards whom he destined to the subsequent attack of the battle, Bastille, and to the storming of the palace of his near relation and royal master. In every country town and village, lodges were open for assembling of the workmen and the peasantry in hopes of heating their imaginations. So they're recruiting all the peasants and workmen in hopes of heating their imaginations. That's going on now. With the sophisticated ideas of equality and liberty, which is on the bottom of the Freemasonic New Age magazine. And it doesn't mean freedom and equality or liberty. It's to make people free from any civilized society, from all government, all churches, all laws, no property ownership. You're going to be free, like a caveman. I don't think it's going to be good for humanity if they pull this off. And they talk about the rights of man. They're lying. And it was then that Mirabeau invested a deputation from the Order of Wusthof, which was quickly diffused the light of illumination through the whole kingdom. Instead of Spartacus Wusthof, Cato Zwack, and Philo Knight, we find welding the firebrands of revolution in the capital of France, Philip de Orleans, Mirabeau Cenis, and Condorcet. The day of general insurrection was fixed by these malcontents for the 14th of July, 1789. At that same hour, and in all parts of France, the cries of equality and liberty, coming from the Freemasons on the bottom here, with the Egyptian symbolisms and the symbols for the mystery religion. So the people are screaming, equality and liberty, resounded from the lodges. The Jacobin clubs were formed, and hence sprung the revolution with all of its horrific atheism, murder, and massacres. Oh my. I suppose you can see, after reading books for almost 10 years when I started my research, I was looking for a topic of this or that, researching, then I would write a book. Makes sense. But I kept finding books like these. I've got about 1,000 in this office. And every topic I wanted to write about, I discovered this or that, I found somebody else had already spent 20 years, 30 years, and had written some books. And I said to myself, people don't know about these books. And the idea sprung in my mind. I said, well, I'll read all these books, and I'll do some book reviews and make people aware these books existed. This information, this evidence has been available for hundreds of years. Moving on, next column on this page. I got 1.5 columns to go. In support of this account of the Illuminati, we have now loaded our margin with authorities, because our detail has been taken wholly from the valuable works of Abbe Burrell and Dr. Robinson, for which we refer our readers for much curious information. So go find proof of a conspiracy or Dr. John Robinson's other material. I believe I've done Dungeon, Fire, and Sword, and I have another book over here I need to do about the bloodlines by Dr. Robinson. And Abby Burrell, Barruel, Abbe. You should be able to look that up on the computer, find something. Apparently he wrote 3 volumes on these topics. We cannot, however, conclude the article without making some remark on those specious principle by which the conspirators have deluded numbers who abhor their impunities and who would not go all their length even in rebellion. So some people wouldn't follow along. We mean the maxim that is, it is our duty to love all men with an equal degree of affection, and that any partial regard for our country or our children is unjust. So they don't want anybody to give any more consideration to a stranger than your own child, or any other country. Don't give any more consideration or less than you would to your own country. Everybody is equal. Nobody should live in a house. Everybody should be, what did they say it here? Equality and liberty, who doesn't have to live under any laws. Those laws are enslaving all of humanity, they would have us think. Even God's 10 commandments. How dare God tell us what we can and can't do? This is what they're preaching. That this maxim is false. Every Christian knows, because he is enjoined to do good indeed unto all men, but more especially to them who are of the household of the faith. So I'm not sure where that's written, because he is told that if any man provide not for his own, especially for those of his own house, he hath denied the faith, and worse than an infidel. So the teachings of the Illuminati are actually not in comparison with the teachings of the Bible, God's teachings, Jesus' teachings. Because his divine master, immediately after resolving all duty unto the love of God and man, delivers a parable to shew that we can neither nor ought to love all men equally, because of the same divine person had one disciple whom he loved more than the rest. But we, with those philosophers who talk perpetually of the mechanism of the human mind, and at the same time affect to have no partial fondness for any individual, but to love all with the same degree of rational affection, to consider well whether such philosophy be consistent with what they call very improperly indeed mechanism. If this mechanism be, as one of them says, it is nothing more than an attraction or repulsion, we know that it cannot extend with equal force over the whole world, because the force of attraction and repulsion varies with the defiance, the distance. Getting these F's to S's. If by this absurd phrase they mean a set of instinctive proprieties or feelings, we know that among the savages, who are more governed by instinct than civilized men, philanthropy is a feeling of propensity of a very limited range. If they believe in all our passions to originate in self-love, then is it certain that our philanthropy must be the progressive, embracing first and with the stronger adore our relations, our friends, and our neighbors, thus extending gradually through the society to which we belong? So I am aware that this globalism, New Age, New World Order is trying to destroy patriotism, love of thy nation, nationalism. Remember, Germans were called the Nazis, National Socialism, and they demonized that, yet they're able to try to pull it off now that socialism, communist socialism, is great, but nationalism is evil. Meanwhile, Israel is very nationalistic and patriotic, and only Jews are allowed to immigrate there. So it's one rule for them and another rule for the rest of the people of the world to be a mixing pot of everything and nobody better than anybody else. Communism, globalism, sustainability, biodiversity, global warming, global cooling, climate change, economic destruction, terrorism. All the tools that they are using to destroy our world. It's all planned. Then grasping our country, and last of all, the whole human race. Perhaps they may say that reason teaches us to love all men equally, because such equal love would contribute most to the sum of human happiness. This sum of them indeed have actually said that it is what no man of reflection can possibly believe. Would the sum of human happiness be increased were a man to pay no greater attention to the education of his own children than to the education of the children of strangers? Were he to do nothing more than to his aged, than the helpless parents for the other old persons, whatever? So would people be indifferent to their own aging parents or family members than they would to anybody else all over the planet? Why would you give your own aging family members any preference? I guess they're opposed to that, so they would have us believe. I think the Illuminati secret societies, aristocrats of the world, protocols of Zion, Zionist Jewish people, and all these people into these mysteries or witchcraft organizations are all not Jewish, and all Jewish people are not in on it. A lot of them are written books trying to expose us, gave famous speeches, died. Or were he to neglect the poor of his neighborhood, that he might relieve those in the distance of 1,000 miles? So don't pay attention to the poor people in your neighborhood. Send some money 1,000 miles away. Doesn't make a difference. So they would teach. These questions are too absurd to merit a serious answer. When a man, therefore, boasts of his universal benevolence, declaring himself ready, without fee or reward, to sacrifice everything dear to him for the benefit of strangers whom he never saw, and when he condemns in the cant phase or fiction that narrow policy which does not consider the whole human race as one great family, we may lastly conclude him to be either a consummate hypocrite who loves none but himself, or a philosophical fanatic who is at once a stranger to his duty to the workings of his own heart. So the philosophy of these secret societies and the things that they're trying to convince people to believe, which a lot of people are believing, by the way. Go down your city streets and see what they've done to the young people. And a lot of them are older now. I remember when I was raising 2 boys, they had something called Pokemon. My sister's kids were coming to stay with me. And I said to myself, oh my, someday these kids are going to grow up looking like Pokemons. And guess what? They do. Cartoons, you ever sit down and listen to what those little characters, animated characters say? If this conclusion requires any further proof, we have in the conduct of Wusthof and his Areopagus, these Council of 12, in the handwriting of Cato, his incomparable man, was found the descriptions of a strongbox, which, if forced open, would blow up and destroy its contents. Several receipts for procuring abortion. So Wusthof had a strongbox with several receipts for creating an abortion, a composition which blinds or kills when spurting in the face. So he had some kind of explosive chemical that blinds or kills when you throw it in somebody's face. A T for procuring abortion. Herbe Q Hubert qualifying dictanium, some French words. A method for filling a bedchamber with petroleum vapors, gas vapors. How to take off impressions of seals so as to use them afterwards as seals. So take off the seals of government so you can use them to create seemingly official letters. A receipt for extradum feronium unitarium, and a dissertation on suicide. So he had some kind of stuff you drink to commit suicide. Would genuine philosophers or philanthropists have occasion for such receipts as these? So if the Illuminati, Wusthof, and these organizations were generally concerned with mankind, would they have these items in a strongbox that if you opened it, it blew up? They didn't want you to get in there. No. The order which used them was founded in the most consummate villainy and by the most detestable hypocrite. The incestuous Wusthof seduced the widow of his brother. So his brother died and left a widow, and Wusthof seduced her and solicited poison and the dagger to murder the woman whom he had fondly pressed in his arms. So he didn't want people to find out that he had seduced his brother's wife, so he intended to poison her. Execrable hypocrite, says M. Burrell. He conjured both art and friendship to destroy the innocent victim, the child whose birth must betray the morals of his father. So apparently this brother's wife that he's subdued had a baby, and he needed to kill the baby too. The scandal from which he thinks he shrinks is not that of his crime. It is the scandal which publishes the depravity of his heart, which deprive him of the authority by which, under the cloak of virtue, he plunged youth into the vice and error. I am on the eve, says he, of losing that reputation which gave me so great authority over people. My sister-in-law is with child. I will hazard a desperate blow, for I neither can nor will lose my honor. So he's going to kill the baby and his brother's wife because he did something wrong and he didn't want to lose his honor. Such is the benevolence of those who, banishing from their minds all partial affection for their children and their country, profess themselves to be members of one great family, the family of the world. So Wusthof would have all these recruited adepts to believing that they were going to save the world and set us all free. That these are the things that he did. And a lot of things that he said he did in the last 2 videos I made on this particular topic in the encyclopedia. Got a few more minutes on this video, so I thought I'd talk about a similar topic, something with a connection to what we really face. The Judeo-Masonic conspiracy, how the bankers took over the world, the Judeo-Masonic conspiracy, Benjamin Franklin. So go look at this website. The link is on the bottom there. But let me read this. The possible connection between the American founding fathers and the Rothschilds family and the Illuminati would be incomplete without taking into account a key figure, Benjamin Franklin. Sometimes I get off to a bad start here. Benjamin Franklin was one of the founding fathers of the United States. Of America, author, painter, satirist, political theorist, politician, scientist, inventor, civic activist, statesman, soldier, diplomat. He was also deeply involved in a variety of secret societies. He was a member of secret societies in 3 countries involved in the American Revolution: England, France, and the U.S. He was a member of the Hellfire Club in England, rumored to be the meeting place for the English nobility who wished to take part in immoral acts, and where members often got involved in politics. So the Hellfire Club, they had to do immoral things. The motto of the club was "Fras si tu vodes," do what thou wilt. Well, isn't that the teachings of Aleister Crowley in his book of the law? Do what thou wilt. So we can say it was a Hellfire Club, with the name Hell, I guess we know, was a satanic organization believing in rules for living opposite the 10 Commandments. They had to do immoral things. A philosophy later adopted by Aleister Crowley, as it says here. The Hellfire Club was created and presided by Sir Francis Dashwood, a member of the British Parliament and personal advisor to King George III. And of course, during the recent election in the USA, 2016, for President Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. And of course, the information came out about the Pizzagate, having sex with children, child trafficking. And of course, I've gone over a lot of material about human sacrifice. I know I keep talking about this spiritual component, Satan, Luciferic, whatever you want to call it. Gray aliens abducting people, having sex with them, creating hybrids. What do you believe? People shape-shifting into some kind of reptilian being, many descriptions of that. What is going on in our reality? What should we know? British historian Richard Deacon affirms that the Hellfire Club was a center for English espionage and claims that Franklin was a covert agent for British government and for other secret powers based in Europe that worked towards the secret plan of all the secret societies. In 1776, year when the Order of the Illuminati was created, Benjamin Franklin visited King Louis the 16th of France to seek funding for the American Revolution, while at the same time he was getting involved in the plot for the French Revolution to overthrow the French monarchy. So the American Revolution was 1776, and 86, 96. Less than 15 years later, they have executed the Reign of Terror, the French Revolution, coming from these secret societies. And then after World War I, they had the Russian Revolution. And World War I was contrived and planned and executed like 9/11. And the Zionist Jews, when Britain was losing World War I, made a deal with them to get USA into the war. They controlled Woodrow Wilson, supply Britain with the money and everything else so that the tide would change and Britain would win. But they had an agreement called the Balfour Agreement that after the war, when Britain won, the British would support taking the Palestinians' land for the Zionist Jewish people to create the State of Israel, a biblical prophesied event bringing about some kind of Antichrist. I made a lot of videos about this stuff, talked about it and talked about it and talked about it. This took place outside the Paris Lodge, Les Neuf Soeurs, the Nine Sisters, which was part of the Grand Orient of France connected to the Illuminati, of which Franklin was the venerable master. This lodge was casually the exact place where the French Revolution took off. While in France, Franklin also initiated Voltaire into Freemasonry, whose writings would later inspire the French Revolution. However, the best evidence to support the theory of Franklin's involvement in the founding from European hidden interest comes from a quote of Manly P. Hall. I went over one of his books, The Lost Keys of Freemasonry. I'll be looking at that again. Some super material in that book. Series 173, if you haven't seen the video. Author, mystic, honorary 33-degree Freemason. So what is a mystic? Would a mystic be a magician? Would a magician be a sorcerer? Would a sorcerer be a witch? I like how they play with words. Not only were American founders Masons, but they received aid from a secret and august body existing in Europe, which helped them to establish this country for a particular purpose known only to the initiated few. So did they have long-range plans for creating the USA to be the powerful country it is today, to be part of being the warrior for taking over the entire world? Is there some spiritual component here that a lot of us are unaware of? Hall further suggests that Franklin was among those initiated few, but unfortunately he does not specify who that secret and august body, or who controlled it, or what was its particular purpose. My conclusion, the author of this little essay, on the connection between the Rothschilds and the American Revolution, it did exist through Alexander Hamilton, who could only push the agenda for the first 20 years of independence, and also quite possibly through Solomon and Franklin, though it made no difference in the end. It is true that the American Freemasons shared the same ideology that emerged from Jewish intellectuals in Germany and spread throughout these secret societies. So this author is saying that it emerged from the Jewish intellectuals, the people behind the Kabbalistic mysticism, aiming for Zionism, and it spread into the Germany and through these secret societies. That's why we see all that mystery religion in the Morals and Dogma and all the other books. But this author says, I'm having a hard time relating the Founding Fathers directly to the Rothschilds, with the exception of Franklin, who obviously had his hands in far too many pies to count as a confirmed agent for any side. And this particular website, the Judeo-Masonic conspiracy page, comes from the website, the Judeo-Masonic blogspot.com. I'll show you again, which apparently has a lot more material. The Conquest of the New World, the Russian Revolution, the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion, all these things I've been talking about. Hitler's struggle, the two world orders, Hitler's struggle, World War I, Hitler's struggle, the unfinished war, the American Revolution, the Rothschilds family, the Jewish diaspora, the Jews being dispersed all over the world. All these things I'm talking about are in this particular website. So I'm not the only one putting the pieces of the puzzle together. By no means. There's many videos out there. The Bloodlines of the Illuminati, the Conquest of the New World, Protocols of Zion, the Death of the Tsar of Russia, and the Birth of Zion. Go look up this website if you want more information. People have organized all the information. So let's see if there's anything else I want to look at. A lot of people don't know the history of the royalty in Germany, France, Britain, Italy, Austria. So this is just a little interesting tidbit here. The Masonic Congress of Wilhelmsbad, Germany. So apparently they have this Williamsbad facility that has a castle. And they had a meeting there. Here's another picture of one of the buildings. The pyramidal structure. So I thought the interesting date of the meeting, held in the summer of 1782. So 1776 was the American Revolution. And 1782 or 8345 was the beginning of the French Revolution. And 1776 was the creation of the Illuminati by Adam Weishaupt, who apparently worked for the Rothschilds. Was where high-degree Masons from the whole of Europe had deliberated on the fate of strict observance. So they were changing their rules. Just was paying attention to the date. But what really caught my eye were some of these people and some of the things it said. Landgrave Karl von Hessen-Kessel was a member of the Illuminati, February 1783, and he was a coordinator for the Duke of Brunswick. So just a little thing about these people. Jean-Jacques Christopher Bode was the Illuminati 1782, representative of Ernest Joan von Fricks, Christian Friedrich Kessel, and the towns of Breenen and Meiningen. Ernst Togot von Korten, representative of Alois Frederick von Bock. So a lot of these elites sent representatives to this Congress. John Frederick Schwartz, Illuminatus, archivist of the strict observance and conference secretary of the German language, treasurer for Conrad, France, representing Brunswick, Hanover, Königsberg, Bavaria, and brothers in Russia. So if you look at this page, look at how many of these elites are Illuminati people going to this Masonic Congress in 1782. Almost every one of them. John Christopher Derringer during this Congress, Illuminatus, Fritz Christian H. Baron Dukreim, Illuminatus, representing the Prefecture of Strags. So there's so much evidence out here that these people were having congresses, and a lot of the leaders, these Vaughns and counts and princes, and they were all Illuminati members. And what do we have today? With the Trilateral Commission, Council of Foreign Relations. Same thing's going on. 911, all those people involved. Go see my video on 911 synthetic terror and see who's involved. George Bush Jr., Skull and Bones. John Kerry. It's all kinds of stuff out there to provide you evidence that there is a plan for a new age and a new world order and globalism. And it's a nefarious thing, and they want to destroy the rule of law of civilized society and people believing in God and morality. As hard as it is to believe, that seems to be the case. Thank you for watching my video. Rick Miracle reporting.